whispered into the night. Some treasures aren't meant to be taken. As he mounted his horse and rode away under the moonlight, the camera would fade out slowly. The morning came quietly, with the sun crawling over the edge of the desert like a secret trying to wake the world without making a sound. Thomas Reed rode slow along the canyon trail, his shadow stretching long behind him. The gold lay buried again, safe under the old oak, just as Eli Morgan had left it. But something in Thomas's chest felt heavier than the gold itself, like he had just carried another man's sorrow out of the earth. He reached the edge of Cedar Hollow by noon, where the wind always seemed to carry old stories instead of dust. The town looked the same, a ghost clinging to life. The blacksmith's forge was cold, the saloon's piano silent. Only the old church bell still stood, cracked but proud. Thomas tied his horse by the trough, walked up the steps, and pushed the door open. Inside, the church smelled of cedar and thyme. Faded sunlight streamed through stained glass, painting the wooden pews in tired colors, and there, sitting by the altar, was the same old rancher who had warned him days earlier, Jed Crenshaw. His hat rested beside him, his hands clasped around a Bible worn thin. When he looked up and saw Thomas, a faint smile crept across his weathered face. "Thought you'd be gone by now," Jed said, his voice dry as desert air. Thomas nodded slowly. "I found what I was looking for." Jed studied him for a long moment, then leaned forward. "And? The gold real?" Thomas hesitated. "Yeah, it was real. But I left it where it belongs." Jed's eyes softened. "Then maybe you found something worth more than gold." The young man pulled out the old letter he had found inside the box. Eli Morgan's trembling handwriting. He handed it to Jed. The old rancher took it, eyes squinting to read. When he finished, his hand shook slightly. "I'll be damned," he whispered. "He really did it. All these years, folks said he went mad. But he just kept his promise." Thomas sat beside him. "You knew him?" "Knew of him," Jed said. "When I was a boy, my pa used to tell me about a man who'd ride through town every spring, never speaking to no one, just left flowers by that old oak tree and vanished by sundown. Folks said he was talking to ghosts." Thomas's gaze fell to the floorboards. "Maybe he was." Jed turned toward him. "Why'd you come looking for his gold, son?" Thomas took a deep breath and reached into his coat pocket. From it, he pulled out the letter with the initial CW, the one he had inherited from his grandmother. He handed it over. This was hers. "It came from my family's chest. I think she might have been Clara Weston." Jed's eyes widened. He unfolded the old letter, his lips moving as he read the fading ink. Then quietly he said, "If that's true, then she must have had kin after all. No one ever knew." Thomas nodded slowly. "My grandmother used to tell me stories about a woman who left Kansas. Said she had a brother and a sweetheart who never came home. She never spoke much about it, just cried when she saw I think Clara was her aunt." Jed leaned back, eyes misty. "Then maybe it wasn't just fate that brought you here. Maybe that old promise was meant to find its way home." The wind moaned outside, shaking the church door slightly. Thomas felt it, a strange warmth, almost like a presence. The air seemed to hum with unseen life. That evening, Thomas rode back toward the canyon one last time. The valley was bathed in gold light, the same hue that had probably once shone on Eli and Clara all those years ago. The oak tree stood tall and still, its branches whispering softly. He dismounted, walked toward it, and placed both letters, Eli's and Clara's, inside the hollow at the base of the trunk. He whispered, "It's over now. You kept your promise," and she found her way back. The wind picked up gently, circling around him. The leaves trembled, and for a heartbeat, he swore he saw two faint shapes in the light, a man in a worn hat and a woman in a white dress standing side by side, beneath the oak. The figures glowed softly, their hands entwined, faces calm. Then just as quickly they faded into the air, gone like dust on the breeze. Thomas stood there for a long time, tears in his eyes, the kind that don't burn but cleanse. He felt no fear, only peace. Before leaving, he pulled out a small metal pendant, the locket he had found tangled in the roots. He hung it on a branch where it shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Then he turned, mounted his horse, and began to ride away. But as he looked back one last time, he saw something that made him stop cold. The earth beneath the oak was glowing, faintly, golden like the ground itself was alive. He dismounted, stepped closer. and saw tiny flecks of gold dust rising from the soil, drifting upward, carried by the breeze like sparks. He smiled. Guess love never really dies, huh, Eli? The camera would pan wide. The oak standing tall against the blood-orange sunset, gold dust swirling like fireflies around it. Thomas rode off toward the horizon, his silhouette framed against the dying light. As the music swelled softly, a narrator's voice would close the story. In a land that forgets everything but pain, there once lived a man who buried gold for love, and a stranger who came 50 years later to dig up not fortune but faith. Some treasures shine in the light, others live forever in the hearts that remember. The screen would fade to black, the wind still whispering through the desert. And if you listened closely, you could almost hear her voice one last time. Eli, I'm home.